Hey guys, Ryan here, and we're going to finish up our look back at Season 3's Mighty Morphin Zords. Firstly, Ninjor. Now, as a toy, I always thought he looked pretty awesome, but as a kid, I never really liked the voice they chose for him. I think it really contradicted his look, and I get that voices on the show are a pretty big deal, and that they must have wanted to give him a distinct voice, but a contrast to the kind of authoritative boominess of Zordon's voice. But the one they chose for him, I think, kind of made him sound like a dweeb and totally unimportant. He does spend the latter half of the season trapped in a bottle, so maybe that's why they did it. But for someone who made the original and ninja power coins, and is to this day a vital part of the lore of the show, apparently he made Tommy's Master Morpher according to JDF, you'd think the character would have been handled with a bit more care. Clearly I'm still sad that he never got his Gokaiger episode adapted in Super Megaforce. Now in the Mighty Morphin movie, Dulcia, who I guess was Ninjor's equivalent, who was such a strong, mysterious and intriguing character, and I wanted to see more of her, I wanted her on the TV show. Instead, we got this guy, who just seemed a little bit naff. Having said that, he could grow to be as tall as the Megazords and kind of look like a Zord himself, whereas Dulcia could only turn into an owl and was stuck being tethered to part of an island on an alien planet. So not really sure how useful that would have been over the course of a 33 episode season set in Angel Grove. So here we are. In terms of toy history, I'm really struggling to find out much about the release of Ninjaman in Japan. In all of the old school photos I've been finding online, it looks like Ninjor was pretty much a like-for-like re-release. For both Sentai and Power Rangers, this was a bit of a strange one. It kind of established the idea of a mid-tier transforming Zord, but one that didn't really matter for the line as a whole and couldn't combine with anything else. Presumably the designers in Japan were either getting faster at designing new concepts, or maybe they had pressure put on them to design more concepts quicker, and that's why this functions as its own independent toy. The design, well, it's pretty basic, but it's technically got two modes, mostly facilitated by some moving pieces. To get from one mode to the next, it's all spring-loaded, which was quite a novel concept for Power Rangers at the time. And to change the head round, you pull on a tab on his back, which is slightly, I think, reminiscent of the flip head action figures. The Warrior mode switches from his visor to give him eyes, more like the two Megazords from that season. I think the head and symbol change really sells the idea of this having two distinct modes, otherwise it just seems like he gains shoulder pads and his trousers fall down. The recycling continues as the sword from his first mode can be combined with the sheath to form a sort of staff for the Warrior mode. It is quite a basic design, but there is some sleekness to it because of how much shiny blue and shiny chrome is on display. What are the notable differences to the Japanese release? Okay, well, I'm pretty sure they changed the sword into the horrible plastic that they used in Season 3 of Power Rangers. And just like how the weapons for those Megazords have broken over time, Ninjor's sword broke too, the blade separated from the handle. Alright, so there was a groundbreaking moment for Power Rangers toys with the release of Ninjor. Let's have a look. Did you notice it? No changes to the chrome, but no lightning bolts. No lightning bolts. What? Oh, how traumatized must we be from 3 years of toys to be celebrating something that didn't happen? In fairness, the stickers on this thing are totally minimal. It must have cost them nothing to put the sticker sheet together. What's bad about this toy? So I would always let Bandai off for making Megazords without any articulation other than the usual arm rotation, because, well, I put it down to the combinations. But here, when you have a humanoid warrior who doesn't need to combine with anything else, they still don't give him any added posability. Okay, I'll admit they gave him wrist rotation, which is really handy for posing him with the sword, and more questionably, foot rotation, which is useless. Is it so much to ask for elbows, or in the very least head rotation? It's not like the head swinging back is going to get in the way of that. I imagine they did it just to keep the price down on this one. It is a bit of an entry point deluxe Zord, the kind you might buy for someone else's birthday. But yeah, it is a bit of a shame that it's such a brick. Of course, back in the day his weapon broke. I don't know what plastic it was they were using that year, but it was the worst plastic they ever used. What's good about this one? Well, it was a very affordable toy, about £15 in England, and the fact that they gave us everything as it appeared on screen was definitely welcome. The shiny gold and silver chrome plastic is a really nice touch. and it makes the figure match the other two Megazords in the line much better. What's nice as well about this is that the chest symbols are moulded in the gold chrome too. Both of the heads are painted and are full of really nice details to make it even more show accurate. I think it was quite a cool development in the show that there was a sentient ally who could grow to be Megazord sized. For all of his annoying quirks, Ninjor is an important part of Power Rangers lore, and it's pretty handy that we have a toy of him that's just as useful today as it was back then. For example, if you were playing along with Gokaiger, you could have just got him and stood him next to Gokaio. Alright, I think that's enough Gokaiger references for one day. Let's move on. The Return of Titanus. Was anyone else really surprised by this one? Now, it's really rare that a Zord will come back outside of its own season. I can think of, Serpentera, but that's not really a Zord, the Megaship from In Space coming back in Lost Galaxy, and of course the recent reappearance of Falcon Zord in Super Ninja Steel. The toy history then, so this was totally unique, because there's no equivalent for it in the Japanese series Kaku Ranger. Bringing back the Season 1 Ultrazord was totally exclusive to Power Rangers. I first saw the box for it in Toys R Us and was obviously more than a little confused by it. At first I kind of thought it was just an old one, maybe they were re-releasing toys again, but it was that it specifically said the Return of. I thought, oh, are they really doing this for the people that didn't manage to get one the first time? Anyway, it didn't take me long to turn the box around and see the Ninja and Shogun Ultrazords pictured on the side panels. And that was when I knew that it was going to come back at some point in Season 3. I was really excited about this. It didn't matter to me that they were blending a Brachiosaurus with a ninja animal motif. I was just happy and even relieved because for once there was a brand new Zord on the shelf that I didn't actually need because I already had one sitting at home. Taking a bit of a cynical view though, I do kind of think this was Bandai seeing how far they could push it. For 2 seasons their demand for Power Rangers toys had totally outstripped supply, and Season 3 was when they were finally getting used to the pace of production that was going to be needed. Unfortunately though, it was bad timing because interest was starting to wane. There wasn't an Ultrazord in Kaku Ranger that year, and I presume Saban and probably jointly Bandai, not wanting to have less to offer, decided to bring back the Season 1 version. After all, it was never destroyed, and its carriage container part is pretty much a one-size-fits-all solution. So, in what was probably the most jarring meta footage we ever got in Power Rangers, they actually blended the original stock footage of Titanus' entrance with new toy versions of the Ninja and Shogun Ultrazords. Note the pink Shogun Zord, the lightning bolts on the shoulders, and the S symbol on the chest. Anyway, Season 3's 5 separate releases, only 4 of which were new, was a steady increase on the 3 releases we'd had for Seasons 1 and 2. But just 1 year later in Zeo, they were going to peak at 6. What are the differences from the original release of Titanus? So this time you actually get the Dragonzord chest piece in the box, but there was a catch because they'd removed the electronics of the blippy lights and sounds. That in itself wasn't really a massive issue, I guess. It's always been difficult to reach that button on the back of it, but if you think of it this way, that was the second time in 1 year that Bandai had taken the electronics part out of the Japanese version of a Zord. Rather bizarrely, they did include the die-cast chain that the Mega Dragonzord used to hold in its claws, and in the instructions they even showed the Bear Zord biting into it, but in the Shogun Ultrazord mode you're just supposed to remove it. They obviously ditched the 2 black plastic tabs that would connect from the chain to the tank mode of the Dino Megazord, but other than that, it's just a total reproduction of Titanus. What's bad about this one? I think the only thing that's bad about this release is how obviously they're from different seasons' toy lines. The dinosaur and animal fusion was strange enough, though I suppose you could have referred back to the Saber-Tooth Tiger, Mastodon and Dragonzord not really being dinosaurs. Maybe that's how they justified bringing this Zord back in the first place. What's good about this toy? Well, for those of us that were there from the beginning, I think it's awesome that there was a bit of payoff, a bit of credit for having bought everything. If you already had the original from Season 1 like I do, then you didn't have to go out and buy another. I'm really thankful as well that they didn't include some annoying exclusive part that would have required a rebuy just to get hold of. You know, the sort of thing they might do nowadays. But for what it was, which was forcing an Ultrazord, in fact 2 Ultrazords, into a season that didn't have any, it wasn't too bad, and Titanus is such a fun toy anyway, it was pretty great just to have another reason to get it out again. So the sun is quite literally setting on my look back at the Season 3 toy line. Obviously I don't have Return of Titanus, so if there are any other differences that I'm not aware of, do let me know in the comments below. Why not subscribe if you haven't done already? There's some pretty cool stuff coming up. And you can see more angles on my Season 3 toys on my Instagram at Power Rangergram. That's it then for this one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.